knows I love the unique stories in life and the things that happen that we can learn from and teach other people. This weekend, I'm watching the Netflix doc Katrina, Come Hell and High Water, and it just struck me so. It was just so emotional. I reached out to one of the stars of the doc, Shelton Alexander, on IG, and I said, "Man, I have to talk to you. I want to hear your story." And here is my man, Shelton, the poet, Shakespeare Alexander. Shelton, what's happening? Thanks for joining me, man.
Thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate that.
So,
Yeah, man, I'm happy to be like on this call with you. And you mentioned my area. I would just tell you, since a kid, I used to visit the Bay Area. My dad lived in Hayward for over 20 years, and man, I just loved that area. He was a carpenter, so I know it is. And I was destined for Cali some kind of way. You know what I mean? So
wait, so you
they
you
got some.
said you were recruited by Cal, right?
Yeah, by Cal Berkeley. Yeah, that was like I was going, let me see, 92, 93 was my senior year. This was the first year Cal Berkeley actually did like a full pads camp. And Don Pelham, I remember him because he continued recruiting me. And also the head coach, I think his name was Gilbertson or something like that. And I know Snyder was before his time. But anyway, man, I went to that camp. They called me the Louisiana Flash, like the best of the best in the state of California. Like they'll remember who I was. I gunned a guy, I gunned him down from clean across the field. And it was the first time my dad ever got to. So they have a high school called St. Mary's out there. I was able to use their equipment, and they wanted for me to stay there and go to school. They were trying to ask my dad, "What can we do to keep him here?" Like, man, I was knocking all the guys off. Man, I was a safety, a quarterback, and a kick returner, like all state. So I'm all, like in the Hall of Fame where I'm from. You know what I
That's
mean? So
awesome,
I'll
man.
just tell you, I almost stayed in Cali though, and I almost went to Cal Berkeley, man, for real.
That's really cool. Okay, so it's a 20-year anniversary. Um,
Mhm.
can you just start off by telling me Spike Lee is orchestrated the whole Netflix doc. How did it come about where him reaching out to you? How did he know that you were a part of that? How did that whole thing work? How were you able to get into this doc and be one of the feature the stars?
Yeah, you got to go back like to 2006 when Spike Lee was the first one to pick up the Katrina story. So like me and him gonna always be close, and I'll just say Spike Lee name, his name is actually Shelton, like my name. You know what I mean? For those people that didn't know, so we real close, man. I love him, and so he seen something in me. He got a chance to like, got in contact with somebody, was able to find out that I was one of the only people that had footage from inside the Superdome. I got to meet him. He was like, "You was a poet. Did you write a poem about it?" And I'll say when I did that poem in front him and the staff at the time, it was indoors. And they like everybody was like crying and shedding tears just from the poem that I wrote. And I couldn't write that poem in Cali. I tried it. When I made it to Cali and I was working with my dad, like all around in Pittsburgh and Stockton, Trace Elliott, doing all kind of work, I couldn't write that poem. Don't you know the time I was able to write the poem was when I actually moved back to the FEMA trailers. You know what I mean? So, but anyway, when we moved in the FEMA trail, I got to feel what everybody was feeling. And then at that time, I got that last minute call from Spike because I almost missed the cut and actually being in that film when the levees broke. And I would suggest people maybe go back and check that one out because Spike Lee really was ahead of his time. But no, you have Geetha, which is another director. You know, that's they do it in 3 sections for the Netflix film, and you'll notice the names. They also have the director. Her name is Sam, and then Spike did the third episode, and you see Spike Lee name, but you got different ones, and they're all great directors,
Yeah,
right? And it was
it's so
awesome working with them.
it's so powerful when you say you couldn't do it unless you were there, and it's because all the emotions and everything that comes out. Let's go
Yeah.
back. So
Hmm.
one of the first things I said to you before we started, recording here was I think almost everybody that when I'm 53 and it's 20 years ago, so I'm 33 years old. You ask anybody outside of New Orleans, they would say Hurricane Katrina like decimated New Orleans. Actually, no, it didn't. The levees broke. And that's
Yes.
what. So, can you kind of just take us back and just give us a little perspective on the day the hurricane came and what happened? Did you guys get through the hurricane, and then how much longer passed until the levees broke, and then everything just went nuts.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. So yeah, I'm gonna take it back because I had this weird feeling. I already had premonitions before, but I had this real eerie feeling. I said, I don't know what's gonna happen, but I do know the water's gonna come. Right? I said I knew the water's gonna come. I ain't say nothing about the hurricane. And you're right. The hurricane missed us. It kind of went, it didn't miss us. It went due east of us, which means we got a big shellacking from it. We felt all, all of the winds. You got to see that in action. But it hit and you can tell, but then it was like, man, it was sunny skies, like blue skies, it's sunny. Like it just seemed like, typical New Orleans weather, kind of a little bit muggy, a little bit humid. But at the end of the day, it was like, I believe like a day and a half later that people were starting to talk about water. The way we was able to hear about the water was by the radios. What I made sure I did, like, as in me moving around the Superdome, I made sure I found people that had radios. The old school radios, you could put the batteries.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that was like my thing. And it was like, man, listening to the different people be like, I'm stuck in the attic, the water came up, we're in this area. You're hearing all kind of stuff on that, you know what I mean? Like, we trapped in the attic, me and my kids, we're not gonna make it, you know what I mean? Like, it's, all of this going on. And so when we recognized the water, we calmed down a little bit, but still most of us would have preferred to take our chances and had got up out of there, you know what I mean? So, because we didn't like the treatment in there, it was like, man, some of them guys that was from the National Guards, those guys been assigned to, like, from war, Afghanistan, Iraq, and all of that other stuff. So they didn't know how to come and deal with, I had a cousin that was in the National Guards. I got to see him briefly, and it was rotating different guys. They never had anybody in charge. I'm a former Marine. I had to go through Cali out there in San Diego. Yeah, I went to boot camp out there in Camp Pendleton and all of that other stuff. But I would say thank God for it, because I was able to help the people, show them how to heat up the MREs and warm up the food and, all of these things. So, like, everything that I did over the course of my life prepared me for that moment. I would tell you, for me, it was a blessing to be there. The reason why I had the camera with me is because, like, I was filming myself anyway. I was traveling and performing and doing poetry before the storm. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't a game. I've been on slam teams and slam competitions and traveling all over the states performing. So I had came up with a DVD called Why Poetry. That's pre-Katrina. And so at the end of the day, like, wherever I would have landed at, and then in the film, you'll notice I'm saying, oh yeah, I'm headed to Baton Rouge, whatever the case. Like, that's where I thought I was headed. And I was watching it the other day, and it seemed like I mentioned I'm going to Baton Rouge 3 times, but I never made it to Baton Rouge. I went where I was supposed to be, and that was in the Superdome. And when I say I was supposed to be there, it's because, like, spiritually, if people see me and they connect with me with the film, they're gonna know I'm highly spiritual. I pay attention to the signs, and that's where I was supposed to be. When people ask me, why was you at the Superdome? I say, man, you gotta ask God that question. Because if I wasn't there, people wouldn't have been able to see the footage that I shot in there, and they wouldn't believe it. It'd be just another conspiracy theory or some type of story. And so I was able to, like, I was able to get some of the misinformation that we had out there for all of those years and clear some of that up, like the rape. I was in there. Like, so in the beginning, it felt like it was because everybody kept saying it. And if you're in a situation like that, everybody just going to keep repeating, oh, the child got raped, the child got killed, da, 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 da. At all of this time in the Superdome, I'm waiting for somebody to come forward. My child been killed, my child been, raped, and my child been, you're waiting for this. Like, nobody ever showed up in this ever. And 20 years later, they still don't have one parent that came forward and said that was my child that was raped and killed. So it didn't happen. So I was able to clear that up.
Yeah, that's really good. And I want to get into the Superdome.
Yeah.
But real quick about the video footage. When you were doing it, did you know did you know that in your mind, like, hey, I need to get this on film? I mean, there was so much going on. Your life was on the line.
Yeah.
But you still were able to say, you know what? I'm gonna get my video camera out here. Why were you doing it? So because you knew you were going to want that?
That's a great question. So it's going to start off with the way I just explained it. Like, wherever I would have been, if I'd have made it to Baton Rouge at a hotel, I'd have been like, hey, man, I'm waiting for the storm to blow over. You know what I mean? Like, wherever I would have been at that point in time, it wouldn't have mattered. I would have been videoing myself. So that's why you see me kind of everybody calm. We going in the Superdome. You'll see everybody like it was like, yeah, man, we about to have a free day in the Superdome. Just get the kickback, relax, and chill in the big old dome. That's what we thinking. This the home of the Saints. We safe as the biggest building in the city. We all good. You know what I mean? So we felt really comfortable. So I was recording those moments. But as it started, like once it breached and I caught all of the rain coming in and starting to pour down and people starting to panic, and the way that we had to move, right then I was thinking about, okay, I have 3 full batteries. I have a bunch of tapes with me. The reason I had those tapes because, and I had my hard drive and all of that is because if everything would have got washed out like I was thinking it would have, I'd have had these things already digital, almost kinda. Like we're ready to be digitized. I had the mini DV tape or whatever. So then I started strategizing on times and points.
Yep.
Like when they almost had a near ride behind the food, I started recording that. When we started marching and singing in the Superdome, I recorded that. When the chaplain was praying over that, I caught that. People getting rescued, I caught that. You know, like, you know, people having just basic conversations, I caught that. People holding their radios, I caught that.
So
you know what I mean? So it was like I started plotting on my times with like what I'm, because now I'm like, we don't have any power.
Yeah.
But those 3 batteries was the power.
Unbelievable. Yes. All right. So 20,000-ish people in the Superdome. So I'm looking at that. And by the way, one of the things that really pisses me off about life is when people have opinions about things and they weren't in the situation. So the people that were saying all that stuff happened weren't there. Not only that, how the hell do they know how they would react when they're fighting for their lives? There's no air conditioning. They have no idea if they've lost their house. They have no idea if family members are gone. And they expect everyone just to be, you know, kind of like everything's great. No, you're freaking out. There's 20,000 people that are freaking out about, I'm going to die. My family members might be, you know, dead. I have no idea. So I think it's really unfair for people to make assumptions and observations like that when they have no idea what it was like at that point. Let me, this is, I don't know why this is in my head. I saw a lot of you guys in the seating area. Why did they not put you on the actual, was there people on the field, which should, to me, was like, that's where you can lay down. How the hell are you going to sit in a seat like this for however long?
It's 2 parts to that. So let me just tell you, that was my first thoughts when I first got in there. I'm looking at the turf because it was a brand new turf they put on the field. I'm like, man, it looks comfortable down there. I would love to be able to go, you know, give me a little spot over there. I bet y'all sleep real good. And then we got, you know, they start stacking us up 1 by 1, 1 by 1, 2 by 2, whatever, you know, around there. And like, yeah. But after that, you wouldn't want to be on that field because it got soaked after, you know, the rain came through.
Yep.
So you could start off on that football field and it'd have been a field of dreams. You living your best life, you know what I mean? Like you stretched out on the field, like, but no, man, once that water wetted and then it was just one of those things. But still, that didn't stop the spirit of the little kids from playing and having fun. Found a way to get a football in there. They was having football games going on in there. You
how
know,
long,
but
how long were you in there?
4 days. Yeah. And it took 1 day for me to see it, and they had some barriers open because they was holding us in there against our own will. However, this one day I made a break for it, and that was that Wednesday evening late. And I was like, man, we seen the police and the guards spaced out, and they opened up like I guess you call them wooden horses, you know, like kind of like the barricade.
Yep.
So they was wide open, and it's like the area where the Superdome. You ever been to the Superdome?
I have not, no.
Okay, they have like the Hyatt Hotel, Hyatt Regency that they talk about as well. So the Hyatt is connected to the Superdome. They got like a mall, Macy's, the mall, the Hyatt is next door to that, and then the Superdome is right there. So in between there is where they had a ramp at, and it was off to the side. So we was able to manage to escape from there. But anyway, go ahead.
So I want to get into I think that one of the things that really stuck out to me was how sad it was when you actually, they brought in people to help you. It seemed like they were actually against you, is what I perceived until Lieutenant General Russell Honore, and I don't know how you feel about him and we haven't talked about this, and I think this is interesting because the
Yeah,
perspective I had just from watching it was he kind of came in and saved the day a little bit, saying, "You guys get the hell out of here, put your guns down, put all that crap away," and he seemed to be treating you guys like human beings. I guess
yeah.
is that right? I don't know.
Yeah, you know, look at his last name, Honore. That's a popular Creole name, you know, like from Louisiana. And we glad, man, and grateful he had that compassion. And he'll be on what I'm on as far as talking about perception, because the perception of black people is just so bad, man. Like, and so they thought we was acting like animals, and I showed them otherwise. We was praying, singing, marching, we was cleaning up together. We was like, you didn't see a bunch of people beating on each other and all of this crazy stuff. You know what I mean? But yeah, we grateful for that, because perception almost got us killed, and more people could have been killed, right? But he came in. I wasn't able to see any of that because I was inside the Superdome. By the time I'm getting out there, you know what I mean? Like, I guess that's when it kind of changed up. But I'm grateful for what I seen that he did. Like, put the guns down. The governor and them, they weren't about like stupid stuff like, you know, stores and like people trying to survive. You see people was dying out there. They needed water, they needed food. So you rather keep all of that stuff. When you get back, you're gonna throw it all away anyway.
Yep.
So you rather just kill people. And yeah, General Honore was like, you don't want to tell your people to shoot your people and kill your people. I mean, what was, you know, and I don't want to say nothing back because Governor Blanco, she's dead. Whatever governor we would have had at the time, you know, God bless her, you know, whatever governor we would have had, they wouldn't know what to do. Just like Nagin, I like Nagin some kind of way, but Nagin didn't know what to do. Nobody. President Bush,
I'm
he
sorry.
wouldn't know
That's exactly where I was going to go next. I think a part of it is a little unfair for people. You guys can have the thoughts you want. You lived it. But I'm just thinking to myself, I don't know how anybody could have really done this where somebody said, you did it perfectly. Like, there was so much that people never ever even dealt with. How the hell would they know how to? It's like having your first kid. You don't know the first freaking thing about being a parent, right? You make mistakes. And I just looked at it. I'm like, but I will say that, and I want to get into this. I felt like, you know, they spent a lot of time on the lower Ninth Ward, which is an area, you know, in New Orleans, which seemed to be hit the most. And I did feel the emotion from the people that were interviewed that lived there, that they felt abandoned, and they felt like they were the bad person, and they were trying to fight against. All they were doing is saying, just save us. And I don't know, that hurt, man. That just watching that hurt.
Yeah. So I used to live in the lower Ninth Ward and the upper Ninth Ward, just to give you a mind set on. So, but I'm from St. Bernard Parish. We actually took the worst hit of Hurricane Katrina. St. Bernard Parish is just below the lower Ninth Ward. So when you talk about Canal Street, downtown, the French Quarters, right? Well, when you drive towards the upper Ninth Ward, then you're going to get to a bridge. I don't care if it's off of St. Claude Avenue or Claiborne Avenue. You have to cross over these bridges. They draw bridges. You'll have to sit there and wait for like an hour, 30 minutes or whatever. If, you know, boats and stuff coming through, we have a drawbridge. But when you cross over the drawbridges, right, you're going to be in a lower Ninth Ward, where the lower Ninth Ward is predominantly black. You know what I mean? My dad, he's 91. He was a little boy and was born in the lower Ninth Ward, right there where it all got wiped out at, right? And so right below the lower Ninth Ward, only like about a mile, is St. Bernard Parish, and where I live at. You know what I mean? Like, so we took 100% hit. Yeah, we got wiped out once again. So, and I know, so people talk about that. In St. Bernard Parish, we did get our fair share of attention. And obviously I was able to point out a lot of stuff, but I grew up in the city as well. So I know the landmark of everything. But I would say I do feel bad about Mississippi a little bit, because I think Mississippi, you know, where they got wiped out and a lot of things happened, you know, to them. But see, once again, it was demographics. It was a mixture of people. So they got their FEMA and stuff on time. You never heard anybody complaining, you know, about stuff like that. And so was the recovery the same as it was for us in New Orleans? No, slightly different maybe. I can't speak to all the facts. And I think we need to hear more from people from Mississippi and and tell us more about their stories. But I know for the most part, like St. Bernard and the Ninth Ward did get a lot of attention for that. But to this day, we got buildings in St. Bernard Parish that haven't been touched since Katrina. Houses haven't been touched. In the Lower Ninth Ward, they got houses and buildings that haven't been touched. It's like Katrina just hit yesterday. If you go there right now, you'll see these things.
So sad.
And in the Lower Ninth Ward, where houses used to be like a bunch of houses, 100 houses on, you know what I mean, like up and down the stretch. Now you might have 2 or 3 houses. It's insane when you see the manor green space. So paperwork, like, you know, like a lot of people didn't have the proper paperwork because the homes was passed on pretty much verbal and all of these things. Your mama died, you was gonna live where she lived at. You know what I mean?
Ugh.
And so I think a lot of that happened. So a lot of them wasn't able to do it, and then that's how the city was able to get a lot of the properties that way, which is pretty much robbery. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
so
land theft.
So after you left the Superdome, and you know, you kind of were able to gather yourself a little bit, whether it's 5-6 days, that where did you go after it was okay? Now I'm free. Now I can gather myself. I have no home. I have no car. I have no nothing. What did you do?
Well, no, I'll take that back. I had my truck.
Wow.
So that part of the story, you so that's why you maybe have to go to like another film. I'm in so many different films, though. I would say even the History Channel, because I think that on the History Channel it's like 11 minutes, and it's about me. It's called I Was There. So if you check it out, if you go to the very end of the film, you'll see the survivors. And it's one of the things that, like, I've been in many films, but they never really get to show the survivors. So let me tell you, when I got out the Superdome, obviously my cousin Cussy was with me. We met some more people that was from the parish. They had my keys. My truck is behind the Superdome. All right. I talk a little bit about that. And then my cousin, he got my camera, he got my keys to my truck, he got my bag, he got all of these things. So I tell the people, wait on me. I'm going to see if my truck behind the Superdome is good to go. All right. No, when we go walk to look for the truck good to go. It's off the ground. I'm not going under. I had an overpass over me. All the other vehicles were submerged in water. My cousin, he takes my bag. He take off walking with this other family that I know from St. Bernard Parish. I had to look for them for 3 hours, almost 4 hours to find them to get, and that's over like just imagine almost 100,000 people, and I'm searching through every person, because if I don't find my bag, then I don't have a vehicle to get out with. Then I don't have my camera, the footage, the tapes, none of that. They just take off. They got everything. I found them, man. It took me 3.5, 4 hours. I walked through water like to my chest, right? I even fell in the water one time because I tripped over a tree. Like I'm walking this city desperately. But you know what? During that time, I was able to see what streets was dry. I was able to see what streets was deep. I was able to see what streets I was going to navigate back on if I got to my keys and my trucks. So I get to them. I finally find them. He come back with me, walking through the water. We get to the truck. I start the truck up. Somebody told me put it in first gear. I did that. I didn't know that at first. I put it in first gear. The truck went submerged in the water, like up to about 3 feet. I'm riding through the water looking like a sailboat on my mama right now. So at the end of the day, I'm riding. We get out. A bunch of people jump in my truck. I drop them off at the convention center. I get to the convention center. I pick up 19 people, including myself, and I got 19 people out of the Superdome.
Shelton, yes. Thank God your truck had gas, because you wouldn't get gas anywhere, right?
We only had a half a tank of gas. So that's why we turned around and went to the Superdome, because we didn't want down the highway stuck in traffic. And that would have happened, and we'd have ran out of gas. So the truck was okay. Didn't know it. I thought it was submerged myself, but I had this feeling that truck was going to be back there. So then from there, okay, cool. The cops wasn't letting people through on Gretna side. You remember that? So, but they let me through, and I had a whole truck full of people, and I was like, just kind of like biting my lip, man. I was like, man, I hope these people don't like try to take us out of my truck and take my truck, man, and like talk about y'all can't go this way. But some kind of way, in a blessing, they led us to some back levee. And we must have rode on a levee for miles and miles, and we finally got an escape route and to get to back at Airline again so we could get to Baton Rouge. So I got everybody to like the shelter. I got them all squared away. I went got with the poetry community from out there in Baton Rouge, and I'm going to give you a link right quick. The young lady that was one of my favorite poets, her name is Ramona Webb. She's out there in San Francisco. She's been out there for many years now. I'm going back and visit them. I just did a big program with the church. I would like, send you the name of the church and everything. They did a huge program at this church, and I was a part of it. Like, they made me the light of this, this thing. They sung all kind of songs and had praise, and they did poems and poetry, and I got to speak, to them, and they're gonna bring me back out there in February or something like that. But I went to stay with her and some of the other Baton Rouge poets, and I made sure everybody else, I let them use my truck so they could get housed and get set up whatever they needed. I chilled out with the poets. I was letting them see the footage for the first time and all of that. And then once they got squared away, I went to Houston. That didn't last long. To me, too many people. I was like, no way in the world I'm going to do this. My frat brothers was out there, but I was like, no, I'm moving on. Went to Dallas, and after all of this time, man, I was a single father before. I finally got to see my son for the first time.
Wow.
After all that time.
Oh.
And man, I was like overwhelmed. Yeah, they wanted to add it to the film. They said they wish they could have, but like me and him was reunited, man, and that was the biggest weight off of my shoulder. You know what I mean? Like, cause he thought I was dead too, So yeah, man. And then once I let him know everything was all good, I got to see him. I was all good. Then I rode to Cali, man, to go be with my dad in Hayward, California, man, and just started working. But I was relieved, and so Cali is where. And then, I'm in Cali, and I'm like, man, this it. This is where I always wanted to be since I was a little boy. I always said I was going to move out here. And like I was at that point. But then my mom was like, wanted to give it a shot. The FEMA trailers came down, and then I had to leave Cali, man. And so, but my mom's died like, shortly after. She didn't make it out the FEMA trailer. My stepdad didn't make it out the FEMA trailer. So some of my people, they didn't make it out there. You know what I mean? Like, they had good intentions, but yeah, man, it just didn't work at the time. But I give thanks that everybody did try, So that's why I fight for my people. I speak for my people, and I love my people. And so I went through it with them, because me being a poet and a writer and a storyteller, I got to make sure I give accurate information. Like you said, like other people that's on the outside, I really don't give a damn what they think. Yep. It's all good what they think. If they ain't positive about it, they could kiss my ass. It don't make no difference. Like, if you never been through something like this, you'll never know what it's like. You know what I mean? And until you put yourself in that situation, you'll never know. You just need to be humble and maybe be quiet, have some kind of gratitude, be empathetic some kind of way. But yeah, the world is crazy. But I would say this, with being in these films, a lot of people, man, showed me a great side of humanity. And so I'm going to say, God bless all of those people. I don't worry about the people that, think negative. Some of the same people that was like, why y'all on a roof? Some of them people years later had to get on their rooftop. You feel what I'm saying? Like, Eventually a storm going to find you. It don't have to be a water event, right? It could be anything. It could be a fire. It could be a storm. It could be a snowstorm. It could be whatever. But, it could be abuse, right? It could be domestic violence. It could be anything. You're going to approach your storm. So people should be careful when they're speaking of other people and they're suffering.
I couldn't agree more. Shelton Alexander, you are a hero. There is that's the best word. You're a poet, but you're a hero. And I hope you know that. And without you, I'm sure there's a lot of people that wouldn't be here today. There's no question about it. Dude, this was so amazing. I hope when you come to San Francisco, we can get together.
I look for you, Matt. Yeah.
I see the emotion, and I just want to let you know that what's so important to me is to let people know the real truth, and to let people know, like the ones that are saying, why didn't they do this? Why didn't they do that? Just shut up and listen. Just shut up and listen to the people that went through it, because you have no damn idea what you're talking about.
True, but then also, if you say something and speak on it, man, you never know when karma gonna come back and get you, and you be in the same predicament. I would advise people to mind their tongue. But once again, I'm going to say from all over the world, man, and all over the United States, I've seen the greater side of humanity, and especially in the world that we're living in right now. So people have been pouring in. They've been sharing a lot of love with me. So I'm uplifted, and I'm encouraged about people and what we could do. I ain't say government. I said people. It's the people that's going to stick together, that's going to make this place keep turning, and we're going to make it. All right, but we all got our little storms to deal with. But thank you, man, and I'll look you up when I come to San Francisco for sure.